Olivia woke the next day incredibly sore. She couldn't move without aching. The bruises all along her arms, torso, and legs were turning deep purple and black. Ow, she thought, when she tried to take her first step. Ow, ow, ow. She could barely get out of bed without wincing in pain. By the afternoon, she was feeling slightly better. Maybe she had just gotten used to the pain, who knew? Or she was feeling better because she was looking forward to seeing her mother. "Are we still on for pasta?" she texted Victoria. "Yep," Victoria texted back. "And maybe some movies and hanging out?" It was Friday night, so Olivia had arranged to stay the night at her mom's. Michael didn't say no. How could he? His daughter had been severely injured under his watch, so he felt terrible trying to impose stringent rules on her now. He felt he owed it to both Olivia and Victoria to let the mother and daughter have some quality time after Olivia's trying ordeal. Olivia still had yet to tell her mother what had happened, though. Because Victoria and Michael didn't co-parent or speak directly, it was up to Olivia to inform her mom about the incident with Xavier. But Olivia didn't want to say that an assassin had nearly killed her right outside Victoria's apartment. Victoria would feel somehow responsible, even though she wasn't. Rachel was. "But I'll have to figure out what to tell my mom," Olivia said as a driver brought her to her mom's house. "I'll make something up so she doesn't know I was injured anywhere near her apartment." Olivia felt safe leaving the Johnson mansion because she knew Rachel would be too scared to have anyone follow her right now. Rachel would have to lay low for a while if she wanted to avoid suspicion. But it was still scary being back in the area where Xavier assaulted her the night before. Olivia avoided the alley today. Instead, she approached her mom's building from the front so she wouldn't have to see the blood on the ground or any remaining crime scene tape or be reminded of what had happened there the day before. She took a deep breath before entering her mom's building and tried to stuff down all memories of Xavier. Step by step, Olivia could feel her ankle hurting as she walked 7 floors up to her mom's place. Her knees were shaking. The walls of the staircase halls were covered with layers and layers of advertisements. Occasionally, a small piece of the wallpaper would turn yellow and black after a period of time. The original color could not be seen, and the pungent smell of dust made Olivia feel a little uncomfortable. From time to time, spider webs would float past her face, frightening her. Finally, she reached her old floor and walked to the door of her old apartment. Biting her lower lip, Olivia raised her hand but did not have the courage to knock on the door. What would she tell her mother about her injuries? Olivia could lie to anyone but her mother. In fact, she had gotten so good at lying and being duplicitous in her new life at the Johnson mansion. But now she was back home with the one person she really truly loved, the person she was doing this all for. "It's me and my mom against the world," she thought, though she was scared now that her mom and her wouldn't be as close if she had to lie to her about who she herself was now and what she was doing. The more she hesitated, the more she could not knock on the door. She gritted her teeth and finally made up her mind. No matter what, she had to have the courage to see her mom. She wouldn't tell her mom about her new life's mission because she knew how crazy it sounded and how impossible. And she knew how unbelievable her power seemed, but she would still relish this time with her mom. After knocking on the door 3 times, Olivia withdrew her hand and waited. Time passed second by second. Olivia was so nervous that even breathing felt strenuous. After a few seconds, Olivia once again reached out and knocked on the door. Finally, Victoria opened the door with a huge smile on her face. When she saw her daughter, she started tearing up as she hugged her. It had felt like forever since they had last seen each other. "Liv," she gushed. "Oh, I missed you." "I missed you too, Mommy," Olivia replied, unable to hold back tears. "It's so good that you are back. It's good that you are back." Victoria's eyes were slightly red as she said, "Quickly, come in." Olivia nodded her head and walked in. "Wait, honey, your leg." Victoria realized for the first time that Olivia was using crutches as she entered the apartment and was stunned. At that moment, she noticed all the bruising on Olivia's arms, too. I fell at the track meet. Olivia smiled awkwardly. There was a faulty hurdle, and when my foot went over it, it collapsed and tripped me. It was a whole thing, and I twisted my ankle and shoulder, and I hit my head. The doctor said I would be fine after a few days of rest, though. She smiled reassuringly at her mother, so Victoria wouldn't worry too much. Why were they so careless with the hurdles? Victoria had a worried look. I don't know, but they paid for my doctor visit. Olivia wanted to put Victoria at ease. And I really will be okay. Oh, before I forget, I brought this for you as an early birthday present. She gestured to the gift box she carried containing Victoria's necklace. After Olivia walked in, Victoria closed the door and took the gift box from her hands. You didn't have to buy me anything, sweetheart. After helping Olivia sit down and setting her crutches against the wall, Victoria said, You haven't had dinner yet, right? You must be hungry. She immediately turned around to look at the plates on the table, and then she checked on the food on the stove. It's almost all finished. Mommy will go and plate the dishes for you. Mom, don't be silly. I can help you plate everything. Olivia saw her mom rushing in and out of the kitchen and zipping about and wanted to stop her. It's nothing. Victoria quickly finished plating the dishes of pasta and salad and placed them on the table. After that, she helped Olivia to the dining table and sat down. When she looked up, Olivia smiled. These are all my favorite dishes. The pasta carbonara, and Mom's special Caesar salad, and even the iced tea I like. It all smelled so good. Olivia felt a slight pang of nostalgia, thinking back to how the two of them often celebrated birthdays together like this over the years. She suppressed the urge to cry, and then picked up her spoon and fork so she could twirl the noodles onto her fork and eat them. Victoria sat across the table and looked at her daughter lovingly. Liv, you have grown up since you left here. She smiled and nodded. You look taller even, and like you're glowing. Your hair and your skin, it's so radiant. Olivia blushed. Thanks, Mommy. I mean it. Victoria watched her with pride. How is your father treating you? Pretty good. Olivia nodded. Michael had been good to her. He was much better than he had been in her previous life. Good. Victoria nodded her head. And do you like living there? Are you having fun? Olivia's lips curled up slightly. I am having fun, yeah, she said, knowing what she meant and what her mom thought she meant were two very different things. I'm having fun getting revenge, Olivia thought. Good, Victoria sang. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. And friends? You're making some at school? Yep, she smiled. And there's a boy. It's new, but yeah. Oh, honey, I'm so happy for you. Victoria wanted to ask more about the boy, but she didn't want to pry. She respected her daughter's privacy, which Olivia appreciated. Victoria knew Olivia would tell her more when she was ready. I'm really excited to spend some time here, though, Olivia said, wanting to make sure her mother still felt wanted and needed. With you, I'm happy to be back here for a little while. Victoria's heart warmed. Me too. I got your bed all ready like you like, and I put the extra down comforter in there because I know it gets cold. She looked down ashamed. I'm sure this place isn't quite as nice as your father's. You must be so used to that by now. No, Mommy, don't be embarrassed. I love it here. This will always be my home, too. As she said this, Olivia remembered something and asked, Mom, didn't you receive Dad's money? Yes. Victoria smiled in relief and nodded her head. How much? I mean, if it's okay for me to ask that. Olivia believed that her father shouldn't be too stingy with her mother. After all, she still felt that Michael still loved Victoria, and the only reason they weren't still together was because Rachel manipulated him into leaving her. After hearing his thoughts the other night, though, she was convinced Michael still had feelings for her mom. $500,000, Victoria replied. Enough to be comfortable, Olivia thought, but not to live on forever. And a monthly allowance starting after this year if you continue to live with them during college. $500,000? Why don't you live somewhere new, Mom? Olivia was a little puzzled. Although $500,000 was not enough to buy most places, especially in the city center of Manhattan or Brooklyn per se, it was not a problem to rent a decent apartment, especially on the outskirts of the town. If I leave, you won't be able to find me when you come back. Victoria reached out and tucked Olivia's hair that was hanging down behind her ear to make it convenient for her to eat. Mom, you know that's not true. Victoria put a large mouthful of pasta into her mouth, and Olivia stared blankly at her for a moment. And suddenly, tears uncontrollably flowed out from her eyes and down her cheeks. What's wrong, Liv? Is your leg hurting? Or is your shoulder hurting? Victoria scooted closer to her daughter, growing more concerned. Shaking her head, Olivia wanted to tell Victoria that she was fine, but she was unable to get a word out through her heaving sobs and just kept crying. Not knowing what to do, Victoria held Olivia's hand to comfort her. Self-blame, shame, and guilt rushed into Olivia's heart. In her previous life, Victoria never moved because she always hoped that Olivia would one day return, so she wanted to have a familiar home for her daughter to return to if necessary. It pained Liv to think of now. Her mother and her suffered so greatly in their past lives. In her past life, Olivia rarely returned home. She was so caught up in trying to impress people and make them like her and win over Rachel and Monica and her dad, and she was so ashamed that they bullied her that she never came by to tell her mom the truth. She knew her mom was better off with the money Michael had given her, so Olivia spared her mom the details of what life was really like in the Johnson mansion back then. She didn't want her mom to feel like Victoria had been paid off, so that Olivia could be tortured and tormented by Rachel and Monica day in and day out. But this time around, I will enjoy my life, Olivia vowed to herself, and I will visit my mom often and rejoice with her. We will both enjoy this life together. Wiping away her tears, Olivia finally stopped crying and looked up at Victoria with a determined face. Mother, we will find you a new place and move you out tomorrow. Tomorrow? Victoria was stunned for a moment. She actually laughed. Why so urgent? Olivia shrugged as she nodded her head. I just think it's time for you to upgrade to something you deserve. Something that fits how gorgeous and wonderful you are, inside and out. She would not let her mother stay here anymore. If it was not for the fact that the workday was over and it would be a pain to find an apartment or landlord willing to show them new places right now, Olivia wouldn't even wait until tomorrow to start their search in person. We can look up apartments online tonight, Olivia explained to her mother, and we'll pay attention to listings that say move-in date as soon as possible or available now. And then we'll give them your first and last month's deposit and first month's rent and say you'd like the keys now. And whatever place is available and willing to do that, you can move into. Her mother looked dubiously at her. Well, assuming I find any places I like. Olivia pulled out an apartment listing website. Mom, look at these. They're gorgeous. You're going to find ones you like. She scrolled to the front page that had a bunch of listings available. On it, there were apartments with exposed brick, apartments with beautiful balconies and bay windows, apartments with outdoor yards, and even some houses further outside the city. See? Victoria couldn't deny her daughter at a point. These apartments were gorgeous, and she could see herself living in any number of them. It had been years since she lived in something so nice. Just the thought made her grin. All right, Victoria nodded. Her daughter was right. Why not upgrade to a better apartment in a better neighborhood, so she could at least look out her windows and see the beauty of the world more readily? Just last night, she had heard about a robber who was stabbed in the street behind her building. It's unsafe here, she feared, thinking about the incident now. And getting more dangerous by the year, it seems. Yeah, you're right, she told her daughter. I'm ready to move. Great. What kind of place would you want to live in? Olivia remembered how they used to talk when she was little about all the things they would wish for in a dream house if they had the money. One with an elevator and a garden with all sorts of flowers and gorgeous big plants downstairs, right? Yes, and a balcony so I can watch the garden or the rain and the snow falling in the winter. Victoria smiled in relief just thinking about it. And I want to find a place closer to your school, Marshall High. That way, when you miss me, it will be convenient for you to come visit me. If you have a bad day at school or if you're ever lonely, I'll be right around the corner. Olivia heard her mom's words and pursed her lips as she silently nodded her head. I just want to make sure you have a home, Victoria said, and I'm putting my money in a savings account and some investments so I can buy something eventually too, because I want to leave you a home. In case anything ever happens with your father, I want to make sure you still have a home to return to. When Victoria said this, there was a faint smile on her face. Don't worry, Mom, Olivia thought. I swear I will bring you back to the Johnson family mansion one day, and I will take back everything that originally once belonged to you and me. Later that night, Olivia and her mother were lying on Victoria's bed, watching silly reality TV shows and chatting. They were catching up about everything that had happened since Olivia had moved out. Olivia found out that instead of retiring and closing his business, Victoria's boss decided to leave his company to his nephew, and Victoria had been promoted from her assistant role there. Now she was the junior team leader of the finance department. She now had more than 10 employees under her command. The director of the finance department is a bald man named Ed, she snickered as she told her daughter. And he always secretly farts and thinks no one notices, but we've all figured out it's him. Olivia laughed, hearing her mother's trivial office gossip. It was nice to see her mother doing so well. It seemed that Victoria was happy to keep working, even with Michael's money, because she felt fulfilled by her work. And the manager of the finance department was very young, but very talented. Victoria told Olivia, he takes good care of his subordinates. It's a good place to work. I'm happy there, and I think they've seen what a good worker I am when I'm not exhausted and having to work 3 jobs at once. I'm so glad to hear that, Mommy, Olivia said. So maybe some really good things have come from me going to live with my dad, she thought. As tough as it is to be away from my mom, at least it means that my dad is giving her enough money to pay off her debts and get back on her feet, and she no longer has to work many jobs just to make ends meet. Nor does she have to worry about feeding me and getting me to school, and she can focus on her own flourishing career and life. When we're ready, one day we're going to link back up and take over the world together again. Olivia smiled, thinking of this. Victoria asked Olivia more about life in the Johnson mansion, and Olivia assured her that Michael was very good to her. She also told her how she had made good friends and that she had won the class presidency. The two of them leaned their heads against each other and continued to catch up until finally Victoria whispered, And what about the boy you mentioned? Oh, Olivia shook her head. It's really new and right now studying is very stressful, so we're more of just friends. Allies, really, she thought, but didn't say so aloud. He's just somebody who I think may understand me better than other people, so I think maybe it'll be interesting to see where he goes. She laughed, and he's very good looking. Her mom smiled. Well, looks are okay and all, but the important thing is that he understands you, so I'm happier to hear that part. Yeah, Olivia mumbled, drifting off into her thoughts. She rarely let herself think about how attractive Chris was, and how compatible the two of them actually might be if they really tried dating. But she started to consider it now. You have to promise me, Victoria said, that if you have a boyfriend, you'll bring him here and let me determine if I think he's a good fit for you. Olivia smiled and immediately thought of Chris again. She sighed. I wish it was up to you or even me who I date. But did you forget that Grandpa had promised me to someone already? Dad told me that your father arranged a marriage partner years ago. Someone from the Jones family came to find you? Victoria was stunned. Yes. Olivia looked at Victoria's furrowed brow and thought about what her mother might know. So she asked, Mom, do you know why Grandpa promised me to the Jones family? Business marriage is just like that in our echelon of society. Victoria sighed. She caught herself. Well, in the echelon I was born into, before my fortunes were reversed. But I'll say this. If you don't like the engagement, then just cancel the marriage. Oh, it's okay, Olivia nodded. She had just made a deal with Chris Jones, and now was not the time to cancel it. Luckily for me, I think I may actually work well with the guy I was promised to. I'm just saying it wasn't actually my choice. It could have been a lot worse. Yes, I totally understand, sweetie. Victoria reached out and carefully, sympathetically pulled her daughter into her embrace. Liv, if you are unhappy staying at Father's place, or you're ever uncomfortable in any way with your new life there, please know that you can always come back home and stay with me for a few days, okay? My new salary at work isn't what you may be used to at your dad's by now, but it's more than enough to support you should you ever need to come home. Victoria suspected that Rachel would definitely try to make things difficult for Olivia. And selfishly, Victoria worried sometimes that Olivia would leave and forget all about her mother. But she knew that ultimately, letting Olivia live with Michael was the best choice for Liv's future. As a mother, she could only hope that her daughter would surpass her in life and do much better than she had. How could she bear to let her suffer? So Victoria quickly added, "But you don't have to come home. I want you to have the best time with your father as you possibly can to make up for all that lost time." "Thank you, Mom." Olivia closed her eyes and smelled Victoria's faint perfume as she snuggled in her mom's arms. It was the limited edition perfume Olivia had sent her a few weeks ago. As long as she smelled the fragrance emanating off Victoria's neck, Olivia would feel very at ease. The following day, Olivia and Victoria slumbered until daybreak, only to awaken with a jolt, inadvertently triggering a twinge in Olivia's shoulder. The pain etched across Olivia's face, dispelling any remnants of drowsiness. Her ankle throbbed too, so she quickly took an Advil. "It must be excruciating," Victoria sympathetically observed, gazing upon Olivia with a heartfelt concern. "Should we consider a visit to the hospital?" "No need, I'll be fine." Olivia softly shook her head. "But I am ready for breakfast," she smiled. "In that case, freshen up while I prepare a meal for you." Victoria tenderly brushed the tip of Olivia's nose with her hand. "What would you like to eat?" "Bacon and eggs," Olivia exclaimed, with buttered toast. The food was usually too fancy at Michael's house. Olivia looked forward to the simplicity of her old favorite breakfast. "Very well." Victoria assisted Olivia in getting up and carefully guided her to the living room. Afterwards, Victoria folded the blanket that had cloaked them both, tidied her hair, and proceeded to the kitchen to begin breakfast. As mother and daughter savored their meal while sharing lighthearted conversation, Olivia urged Victoria to accompany her to the real estate agency a few miles down the road. They hailed a taxi, and together they embarked on their journey. Upon their arrival, the agent promptly rose from her seat and greeted them. "Welcome. Are you interested in renting or purchasing a property?" The young woman in her early 20s radiated a bright smile, dressed immaculately in a professional suit that exuded an air of comfort. "Renting," Olivia responded. "Very well, please have a seat." The young woman gestured, rising to pour 2 glasses of water and placing them in front of Olivia and Victoria. "My name is Lynn," she added, offering her business card with a respectful gesture. Accepting the business card, Victoria introduced herself. "I'm Victoria, and this is my daughter." "A pleasure." Lynn opened her notebook and inquired, "Are you seeking a rental property in a specific area? And what is your budget? Are there any specific requirements?" Olivia smiled to herself. This is all finally happening. It felt like the first major step to her mother finally re-entering her life and finding her footing in Manhattan society again. "Proximity to Marshall High School is my only real must-have," Victoria said. That was her top request, but then she thought some more and added, "Good lighting would be preferable, and I'd like a safe neighborhood." Somewhere with tranquility and high-quality housing. We don't need the first or second floor, Olivia specified, sharing her preferences. A functional kitchen is a must, along with air conditioning, a refrigerator, and a washing machine. Ideally, we would like a move-in ready option. Understood. Lynn diligently jotted down the details and asked, "How many occupants will there be?" "Just me," Victoria replied. "We have 3 suitable options available," Lynn said after searching her computer for listings. One is a 2-bedroom, 1 living room, 1 kitchen apartment in the Garden District of Columbus Circle area, featuring private security services and a doorman. The second option is a 3-bedroom with 2 living rooms and 1 den in the Upper West Side, complete with a swimming pool. And lastly, there's a single apartment on the Upper East Side featuring a bedroom, living room, and a kitchen, and 2 bedrooms. Would you like to see them? "How much is the rent for each?" Victoria inquired. The Garden District one is the closest and most conveniently located to Marshall High. The neighborhood has a bus stop just outside, but the rent is slightly higher. The 3-bedroom, 2-living-room option costs $3,500 a month, while the single apartment is priced at $2,000. However, the Upper West Side is a bit remote and further from the subway. Lynn explained, "If you're living alone, the single apartment would be quite suitable." "In that case, let's take a look at the single apartment," Victoria decided, considering all the appealing aspects of having a place to herself. "Do you only want to view the single apartment?" Lynn asked. Victoria contemplated, then nodded. "Yes, just the single apartment will do," Victoria confirmed. "Let's also take a look at the 2-bedroom option," Olivia chimed in simultaneously. Victoria and Olivia looked at each other. "Just in case I ever come to stay with you," Olivia whispered. "Okay," Victoria nodded and smiled at her daughter. "You're right, sweetie. I guess I was just so used to always choosing the cheapest option. But I suppose my fortunes are improving now and I can afford to look at more." "Exactly," Olivia thought. "And things will only be getting better from here, Mom." Victoria turned her attention back to Lynn. "We'll look at both options." "Very well." Lynn stood up and replied, "I'll retrieve the keys and show you both units. Please wait a moment." "Sure," Victoria nodded. Once Lynn left, she turned to Olivia and said, "I'm excited. This will be fun." "I know, and don't worry, Mom," Olivia said. "Having 2 bedrooms is not excessive, in case you're worried about that. When I have the opportunity, I still need to stay at your place. And even when I'm not there, Aunt Patty might need a room someday, and your friends might visit. This way, you'll be able to host them." "You're right," Victoria agreed, nodding. Olivia stretched her leg because it grew sore as they sat waiting for Lynn. When she moved in her chair, she winced slightly. The bruises all up and down her leg hurt every time they touched the chair beneath her. Victoria watched her daughter and then gently touched Olivia's head. "You must be careful in the future. Understand? I hate seeing you injured like this." "I know," Olivia nodded. "I will." She privately vowed to exercise more caution in her life going forward, to avoid giving anyone the opportunity to harm her the way Xavier had. The 1-bedroom apartment was pretty, with its floor-to-ceiling windows and its arched entryways, but Olivia wanted more for her mother. She could tell that Victoria liked it, but she wouldn't be satisfied until Victoria was absolutely brimming with joy. So when they stepped into the 2-bedroom apartment, Olivia watched her mother's thoughts closely. Upon entering the 2-bedroom flat, Olivia looked in awe at the industrial, wrought iron window finishes that overlooked Central Park below. "This is the most beautiful view I've ever seen," she thought. "Mom, did you see that this room overlooks a private garden, too?" Olivia said, beckoning her mother from the living room into the primary bedroom. "Look." Victoria followed her daughter's gaze out the window of the bigger bedroom. Sure enough, it opened onto a little terrace with enough room for a chair. Below the terrace was a gorgeous landscape garden that was part of the first-floor unit. It had large citrus trees and a little fountain that sounded serene. Surrounding the fountain were rose bushes of all different colors, red, purple, even ones that looked like sunsets bursting onto the petals. Victoria smiled. I could sip my coffee here in the mornings and put a little bird feeder up in that tree right there and watch as the hummingbirds and sparrows and blue jays commune and sing in front of me while the bees pollinate the flowers below. Olivia smiled too, watching her mother. It made her ecstatic seeing her mother this excited. And did you see the bookshelves, Mom? Olivia asked eagerly, bringing her mom into the den. Wow, Victoria muttered. The back wall was covered in books. I haven't been able to sit down and read a book all the way through in years, she thought. But now, with my new position at work, and with Michael's help, I'll finally have time and space to actually relax and get back into my hobbies. Olivia nodded to herself, reading Victoria's thoughts. This is exactly what I want for you, she thought. Victoria inhaled deeply, basking in all the natural light surrounding her. My current apartment is dark and musty, especially in the winters. It feels so cramped. This will be so lovely. She nodded before turning to Lynn. I'll take it. She looked at Olivia. We'll take it. It's for the two of us. I want Liv to feel at home here too whenever she comes. Liv smiled again. She couldn't stop smiling, really. It was the happiest she'd felt in years. After finalizing their decision on the 2-bedroom apartment, Lynn contacted the landlord to arrange a meeting. The landlady, a fashionable woman in her 40s, had initially prepared the house for her son and his future wife. The renovation was top-notch, using the finest finishes and materials. However, her son, after graduating from Stanford University, decided to stay and work in San Francisco instead of returning to New York City. As a result, the landlady put the house up for rent in hopes of finding solid long-term tenants who were clean and non-smokers. Upon meeting the landlady in person, Victoria and her daughter made a good impression, and the lease was signed on the spot. Victoria agreed to pay 3 months' rent in advance. After finalizing the paperwork, Olivia asked Lynn to help find a moving company, ensuring that all necessary arrangements were completed by the end of the day, that day. Honey, don't you think that's a little fast? Victoria asked, uncertain it could all be done in one day. Mom, these are professional movers who will box everything up for you, then move it across town. They normally work with companies who have to relocate employees on short notice. They're experts at this, trust me. I Googled whether it's easy, and apparently it is. Let me pay for this for you. I want you to not have to lift a finger. Olivia knew that using her allowance this month to help her mom improve her life was the best use of her funds yet. Victoria smiled, touched. My daughter is so kind, she thought. Her heart warmed. Later, Victoria thanked Olivia when she saw how quickly the movers really were able to box all her items up. I suppose our place is pretty tiny, she said of their old apartment while looking around, so there's not too much to pack. I almost worry I won't be able to film my new place. It's so much bigger. Don't worry, we'll get new stuff over time, Olivia smiled. When they arrived at Victoria's new apartment, Olivia and her mom carefully inspected the boxes in every room, confirming that nothing was missing. Olivia looked up and noticed the imposing figure of the crystal chandelier hanging above her. Its intricate patterns fascinated her. Victoria sat down on her couch and felt 10 pounds lighter in her new, bright, airy home. What would you like to eat? I'll go buy some groceries for us to cook, Victoria suggested. The landlady had informed her about a market in a large supermarket a couple of streets away from the building. Before entering the neighborhood, Victoria had taken a quick look, noting the convenience of a bus stop and a subway stop within walking distance. How about instead, Olivia sat up and suggested, we go out and eat. Where should we go? What do you feel like eating? Victoria asked, observing Olivia. Her daughter seemed so light and free today, despite the crutches. It was as if Victoria's happiness made Olivia happier. Well, anything is fine as long as I'm with you. Olivia thought for a moment before replying. I love you, sweetie. Victoria smiled. The two of them headed downstairs and ordered several stir-fried dishes at a restaurant near the park. After finishing their meal, Victoria accompanied Olivia for a walk around the neighborhood. Olivia pointed out various shops and roads as they strolled, providing a brief introduction to the area. Considering Olivia's discomfort due to her ankle, Victoria suggested, "Let's go home. Your feet must be hurting." "No, it's okay," Olivia replied, realizing that she still had some matters to attend to. Glancing at her wristwatch, she said, "It's actually almost time for me to go back to Dad's." "Now?" Victoria was taken aback. It felt sudden. Although she knew Olivia was only temporarily visiting her, Victoria couldn't help but feel reluctant to part ways now. She loved her daughter so much, she hated being separated all over again. "It's okay," Olivia smiled. "Now that you're living near my high school, I'll come to see you often in the future." "You're going back by yourself?" Victoria expressed her concern. "Shall I call a taxi for you?" "It's all right. I'll have one of Dad's drivers pick me up," Olivia reassured her, hugging Victoria with one arm. "Mom, take good care of yourself, and don't go too crazy decorating that new apartment." Victoria laughed. "Okay, I'll try not to." Victoria patted Olivia's back and nodded. "And I want you to be more careful in the future. Don't get injured again," she cautioned. "I promise I will be more careful." Olivia bid farewell to her mom as soon as one of her father's drivers approached. He had been stationed at her dad's office building in the city just a few blocks away, so he was able to quickly find Olivia. As she sat in the back of his Cadillac SUV, Olivia watched the scenery change from cityscapes and urban sidewalks to green belts and trees and forested countryside, the further out from the city they drove. Soon, they were on the winding roads leading to her father's mansion along the Hudson. Olivia noted the turn in the road where Hector had driven off the road weeks ago with her assistance. She smiled to herself slightly. Things were looking up. She'd made a deal with Chris Jones. Her mom had moved closer to her and had a place that made her feel calm and at ease again. And soon, Olivia would be able to set her sights on her stepmom and half-sister again. "Did you want to stop anywhere on the way?" her driver asked. It was customary for them to ask this, to see if there were any errands the Johnsons might need to run. "Nope, just take me home, please," Olivia said, as a cryptic smile spread across her cheeks. "Rachel, Monica, and that damn dog Candy," she thought. Your unlucky days had just begun. Back at home, while Olivia spent the night with her mother, Rachel paced, full of anxiety. She couldn't sleep at all last night after realizing her plan to have Xavier kill Olivia had failed. She worried her scheme would be exposed any second now, and her heart raced with panic, although she managed to hide it well. She sat at the breakfast table with her husband, her father-in-law, and Monica. "Pass the butter, please," she said. "I've worked up quite the appetite with all my charity work lately. I feel like I'm constantly go, go, go. What with all the gala planning I've been having to do." Rachel figured if she reminded people about all the good she was doing in the world, they might actually think it inconceivable that she could hire a hitman to go after her own stepdaughter. Whose idea was it to have buttermilk scones with these rosemary potatoes and sausages this morning? It was excellent. She knew Michael's father, Jack, had requested this meal for breakfast, so she figured it didn't hurt to compliment his taste. It was part of her arsenal to integrate her with her in-laws. Flatter, impress, ingratiate. Beside her, her daughter Monica privately fumed. After she had witnessed the way Chris Jones affectionately smiled at and behaved with Olivia, Monica yearned to tear Olivia's face apart, knowing that she wouldn't find solace even in her pain. The implication in Chris Jones' words and his body language the other night was clear. Chris would back Olivia up going forward. From now on, anyone who dared to trouble Olivia would have to think twice. Thinking of Chris's declaration of support for Olivia, Monica's face turned red. How had things turned out like this? At that moment, one of the maids brought Olivia's dog Polly through the dining room and into the kitchen to feed it breakfast. "We already have a dog at home," Monica muttered. "It would be inconvenient and unnecessary to raise another one." When nobody responded, Monica's gaze turned icy as she spoke. Suddenly, unable to stop herself or hide her frustrations any longer, she yelled, "Can we ask Olivia to bring her dog to the pound? There's no need for this household to be inconvenienced any more than it already has." The atmosphere grew tense in the room. Michael's expression changed, and he reprimanded, "Monica, you mustn't be so impolite." Hearing the commotion from the dining room, Rachel's dog Candy, who had been lying in the living room, hurriedly rushed in. Upon spotting Michael, Candy identified him as the source of the disturbance and charged towards him with 2 loud barks. Even though Michael was aware of the charging Maltese, he didn't react or attempt to evade it. He was used to the yappy dog biting at his ankles, and if he was being truly honest, he hated the dog. He much preferred Olivia's dog Polly, which seemed more docile and sweet. As Candy prepared to leap and bite Michael, everyone watched. But at the last moment, another figure swiftly jumped up and slapped the charging Maltese away. The menacing Maltese was sent flying, spinning a few times before coming to a halt on the ground. Candy didn't move. "Candy!" Rachel got up from the table immediately. She had invested a significant amount of money and time into raising this dog, and she ran towards her prized puppy with concern. "Polly," Michael muttered. He was surprised by the agility and combat prowess of the husky. When Polly noticed Michael's gaze, it tilted its head and assumed its usual endearing pose, wearing an innocent expression that seemed to say, "What just happened? I have no idea." Deeply impressed and amused, Jack couldn't help but smile slightly. He silently applauded Polly, thinking, "Well done, Polly." Jack didn't care much for Candy's constant barking and nipping, so it was funny to see her get put in her place so quickly. "It seems Polly's presence is necessary," Jack said finally, "to keep Candy in check. It seems that when one pet dog dares to go after a human, it's a good thing we have another pet here who is willing to look out for us." Jack said this in a rather enigmatic, pointed way, and Rachel couldn't be sure if he was saying something deeper about her. Did he know she was involved with the whole Xavier situation? Did he view an attack on Olivia as an attack on the entire Johnson family? Michael nodded in agreement with his father, but said nothing. Instead, he simply returned to his food. The once peaceful breakfast had been disrupted, stirring ripples of discord in everyone's hearts. It was impossible for Rachel to eat unperturbed, though she pretended to agree with Jack. "You're probably right, Jack," Rachel conceded. "It's probably good to have 2 dogs here. Candy has gotten so used to being the only puppy here, she thinks she's much bigger than she is." Rachel pretended to laugh at this observation of hers, and then went back to eating her meal with what appeared to be genuine delight. "Yes, she's certainly gotten too big for her britches," Jack agreed. "So sometimes it's necessary to bring her back down a peg, isn't it? I say, well done, Polly." Again, Rachel wasn't sure if Jack meant something deeper by this. Is he talking about me? Is he saying I need to be taught a lesson for what I've done to Olivia? Or is he really just talking about the dog? Unsure, she averted her eyes and focused only on her food. Later that day, while Olivia helped her mom move and Michael busied himself with work in his study, and while Jack tended to business meetings in the city, Monica wept in her own room. Despite her boiling anger, Rachel attempted to console her daughter. "Mommy, I can't accept this," Monica sobbed, tears streaming down her face. "Why does Olivia take everything that should be mine? Why? I am the young lady of the Johnson family. Even Chris Jones should be mine." "Monica, be a good girl." Rachel pulled Monica into her embrace. "We will settle the score with her when the dust settles." "Mommy, I can't accept it." Monica looked up at Rachel through tearful eyes. "Olivia has snatched away everything that rightfully belongs to me. I can't accept it, Mommy. I won't accept it." "Sweetie, be good and don't cry," Rachel consoled Monica. She harbored a deep resentment towards Olivia, more intense than the hatred she once felt towards Victoria even. At that moment, there was a knock on the door. "Who is it?" Rachel placed her hand on Monica's lips and turned towards the door. "Madam, Jack has summoned you and Miss Monica to the study downstairs." A servant's voice came from outside. Rachel looked at her daughter nervously. Monica didn't seem to understand what this might mean, but Rachel was afraid. Is he about to expose us? She worried. "Okay, we will be right there," Rachel replied and wiped the tears from Monica's face. "Your grandfather wants to see us. Be careful not to say anything inappropriate when we're in his study, all right?" "Okay." Monica felt flustered. "Wait, Mommy, do you think Grandfather has discovered something?" Rachel nervously bit her lower lip. She too was worried about this. "Monica, listen carefully," Rachel anxiously cautioned. "When we reach your grandfather's study, don't say anything at all about anything I've ever told you, okay? If he asks, blame ignorance, remember?" "Yes," Monica nodded. She had always been afraid of her grandfather. In her memory, he only smiled when he saw her second uncle and her dad, and he walked with a thunderous march through the house. He was tall and imposing, and his skin seemed dry and scaly because he was so old. She was genuinely fearful of him. With trepidation, mother and daughter slowly made their way downstairs. Rachel took the longer route, foregoing the elevator in favor of the stairs, which snaked them through the servants' quarters and then through the back of the house. She looked out the window, imagining herself making a break for it. I could go run to the garages and get in a car and get away, never to be seen from again. No, who was she kidding? She needed access to her credit cards, and to the private jet, and to her belongings if she really wanted to get away from somewhere. She knew that she would just have to plead her case and persuade Jack he was mistaken if he had uncovered any connection between her and Xavier. Maybe she could claim she was set up by someone else. God, I hope he hasn't found anything, she told herself. She could feel herself walking slowly as she and Monica approached the downstairs hallway near the library. The wood floors were lined with rich red and amber oriental rugs, and the walls were adorned with sconces that lit the room. There was no running now. Her clack of her heels on the floors were announcing her coming arrival. When she got to the room that Jack used as his study whenever he came to the Johnson family mansion, Rachel knocked 3 times. She looked at her daughter, drew in a sharp breath, and waited. "You may enter," Jack's voice boomed from inside. Rachel looked around. Did he seem angrier than usual? Or did he seem fine? She wanted to know what to expect. Her heart began to race. Is this how it all ends for me? She feared. She looked at her daughter, who was watching her, growing more nervous. Monica looked like she might burst into tears again. "Monica?" she whispered to her daughter angrily. "Don't cry. Don't do anything that will make you look more guilty. You can't let on what you know, remember?" This only made Monica's lip quiver even more. Jesus Christ, my daughter is going to give us away. Rachel rolled her eyes at her daughter. She hated how Monica couldn't control her emotions if her life depended on it, and right now, their lives really did depend on it. "Keep it together, won't you, or I'll send you away." This threat seemed to work. Monica nodded hesitantly, wiped her eyes, and then straightened her back. "That's better," Rachel nodded. "Now just follow my lead, yes?" "Yes," Monica whispered. "I said come in," Jack yelled from inside. "Can you not hear me?" He opened the study door with gusto and looked at his daughter-in-law and granddaughter. "What are you waiting for?" "Sorry, I didn't hear you say we could come in," Rachel lied. She cleared her throat and then entered the room. Then she nodded to Monica for her to follow her. Monica shuffled forward reluctantly. Rachel closed the door behind them and asked, "Father, what do you need from us?" In one swift motion, Jack threw the glass he was holding across the room so it broke with a huge crash. Both Rachel and Monica ducked in fear reflexively. Monica fell to the ground entirely. "Jack!" Rachel exclaimed, rushing forward to assist Monica as she struggled to rise from the ground. Jack's expression remained cold and stern. "How dare you?" "Grandpa!" Monica yelped, but the fear in Jack's eyes silenced her instantly. It gripped her heart, rendering her speechless. "Jack, can't we have a civilized conversation, please?" Rachel challenged, her eyes filled with fear as she surveyed Monica's nervous face and then turned her gaze towards Jack. "We don't even know what you're upset about," she lied. "A civilized conversation?" Jack sneered, his voice icy. "You still expect civility after what you have done?" "I don't know what you mean," Rachel insisted. What did we do?" "Seriously, you are either behind the plot to hurt Olivia, or you were just very happy about it, because I saw the way you reacted when you heard about it, and either way, you've been giving yourself away. It's obvious. It's clear as day you don't like her." "Dad, it's all my fault. Monica has nothing to do with it." Rachel, realizing that Jack was already aware of everything, knew it would be better to just admit it now instead of letting him do anything to hurt Monica. "I can't let my daughter's fortune get swept up in my mistake," she thought. Rachel immediately knelt on the ground before her father-in-law, taking the blame for everything. "It has nothing to do with Monica. You expect me to believe that?" Jack saw everything clearly the other night. When Olivia had first arrived and told everyone the story about being followed by an assailant, Monica's expression revealed that it had everything to do with her. Normally, he would turn a blind eye to the petty actions of Rachel and her daughter. After all, which aristocratic family didn't engage in schemes and intrigues? His tolerance, however, didn't mean he indulged in such behaviors himself or encouraged them. This plan, however, was far beyond reproach. These two reckless individuals had dared to plot against his family's future by hurting one of their own. They had plotted to kill someone. They had truly grown audacious and had to be stopped. Monica wanted to deny that she knew anything about her mother's plan, but guilt washed over her at the same time. "Rachel, remember how your family originally rose to prominence?" Jack narrowed his eyes slightly. "I can elevate your whole family to the ranks of aristocracy, and I can just as easily cast you out." Rachel gulped. She was terrified. She knew this was her only chance to try to explain herself, or convince Jack that what she did was justified to get Jack to show her and Monica some leniency. "Jack, I was wrong. I know that, but you have to understand what actually happened. I didn't ask that man to hurt Olivia, I swear." Rachel had to think of something quickly, so she just started talking. Even Monica looked over at her mom with a frown, unsure where her mom was going with this. "I paid that man to follow Olivia, it's true, and I paid him to scare her. I told him to intimidate her, but I never told him to bring a knife with him or to hurt her, and I especially never told him to kill her." "Why would you do that?" Jack asked, suspicious. "Because Olivia goes off on her own a lot. She didn't grow up around us. She's not used to having all this wealth. So she goes on shopping sprees and acts in a manner unbecoming of a woman of her status. You should see the bags and bags of shopping goods she brings home sometimes. And you should see the way she parades around, like she doesn't need to be discreet with her money. Other children in our world know how to behave. She doesn't. And unfortunately, your son is so blind to it, he doesn't listen when I try to tell him. And she certainly doesn't listen when I try to tell her, so I paid a man to follow her and to scare some sense into her. I thought if she saw for herself that the world is dangerous when you have money, that she would act more appropriately going forward." Rachel eyed Jack, trying to gauge whether he was buying any of this, but his face remained unmoved, so she couldn't tell. "I didn't expect the man to be a sadistic criminal." "How could he not be?" Jack interjected. "You hired a criminal. What did you expect?" Rachel looked down. "I know, I was stupid, and I certainly didn't expect Chris Jones to intervene, and for things to escalate. She was glad Xavier didn't live to refute her version of events now. You could have gotten Olivia and Chris killed, and then the Jones family would tear our family apart. You're responsible for this. You let a man with bloodlust go after my granddaughter. I wasn't thinking it through, Rachel exclaimed, but I promise I was only doing it as a lesson, and I thought it would teach her some good. But I swear on everything I love and everything that's holy in this world that I won't dare to do it again. Please, just please promise me you will forgive me, and you will never tell anyone outside this room, especially Olivia. I can't have her thinking I tried to have a man hurt her, because I didn't. I never intended for that to happen, I swear. Rachel's face paled. After several years of comfortable living, she didn't know what to do. Engaging in these petty tricks right under Jack's nose was tantamount to courting death. If it were just her alone, it wouldn't matter. But she still had Monica and the entire Cooper family name to think about. She couldn't afford to make any more mistakes. Jack snorted coldly and walked to the back of his desk, slowly taking a seat. Mark my words, he said slowly. Then he paused. Rachel and Monica looked up in Jack's direction, waiting for his next words. No one is to touch Olivia. Jack's gaze turned deep. Then, as if he derived some sort of pleasure from saying this, he added, In fact, I think we should all agree that going forward, we want Olivia to live and thrive within the Johnson family. And I want to see, that you are doing everything in your power to bring that about. It is how you will make up for what you did, is that clear? Rachel closed her eyes. Now she was being ordered to help Olivia succeed, and her daughter was being ordered to help Olivia thrive too? This is punishment worth more than death, she thought. But she smiled and nodded to Jack. Yes, of course I would love to. Jack pursed his lips. Good. And if something ever happens to Olivia in the future, now I will know who to look at. He glanced from Rachel to Monica. Monica bit her lower lip. Jack's words had been merciless. Her face burned red and her ears rang from the anger she felt boiling up inside her. Olivia. It was Olivia once again. Why was everyone siding with Olivia? Why couldn't my mom have just found an assassin more capable than that effing idiot who completely ruined everything? Now we're totally exposed, and even my grandpa, who doesn't seem to like anyone, has sided with Olivia. And now he's watching our every move, so we have to be better. Or even more cunning. She snorted angrily. Leave. Jack sneered at them with a dismissive wave of his hand. He couldn't be bothered to look at the mother and daughter duo any longer. Rachel guided Monica towards the door and said, Very well, we will leave. And thank you for knowing I would never intentionally hurt Olivia. I was stupid in who I entrusted with my plan, and it won't ever happen again. Jack looked at her like he wasn't sure he even believed her. Rachel wondered if he was still suspicious of her, or whether she had convinced him of her innocence. But she didn't want to risk angering him further, so she turned and closed the door to his study as she ushered her daughter outside. As they walked back to Monica's room, the mother and daughter remained silent. They knew that once they entered the bedroom and closed the door, they could talk more freely. Rachel was surprised her daughter wasn't even crying, which seemed to be a first for her in tense circumstances. In fact, Monica was unusually calm. As soon as she entered her room, Monica ran to her bed and didn't utter a word. Monica? Rachel was accustomed to Monica's stubbornness and temper, as well as her inability to tolerate being wronged. But now, seeing her like this, devoid of any anger, Rachel felt a deep sense of fear. She approached and put her arm around Monica's shoulder. I hate this. Monica's voice lacked any emotion. Grandfather and father both devalue me and write me off completely because of Olivia. Monica raised her head, staring blankly at Rachel. Like they don't need me, and like they like her better. Mommy, did I do something wrong? Why is it like this? Why was it all happening like this? No, you did nothing wrong. Rachel's heart ached at the sight of Monica's state. Her daughter was only 15 years old. How could they treat her like this? I didn't do anything, Monica muttered. Her eyes suddenly turned fierce, her face contorted. It's all Olivia's fault for coming here. It's all her fault. Yes, it's all her fault. It's all her fault. Rachel echoed Monica's words, trying to console her. Monica, if you feel wronged, then cry. Cry? Monica fell silent again. She looked at Rachel with indifference. Will Olivia die if I cry? Her eyes seemed empty as she squeezed the words through clenched teeth. I want her to die. Monica, your grandfather's words couldn't be clearer. We can't do anything to her. If anything does happen, we will be punished. Rachel held Monica's hand. Don't worry, I promise you. I can find another way to harm her. Something nobody expects. Something that doesn't trace back to her. I won't let her live well. Revenge? Monica muttered those two words and suddenly let go of Rachel's hand. You always say that. What happens in the end? We get punished. Monica! Rachel couldn't believe that Monica would push her away. Monica, listen to Mommy. We can't rush this. I will definitely come up with a good plan. What plan? Monica's eyes seemed to regain a glimmer of hope. Mommy, what plan? Tell me quickly. Rachel didn't have a good plan at the moment, but Monica's emotional state was so unstable that she had to come up with something as soon as possible. I'll go after her mother. What about Olivia? I want her to suffer directly. Monica pouted. What do you plan to do about that? Beatrix. Rachel's eyes suddenly lit up as she held Monica's hand. Your cousin Beatrix won't let Olivia off the hook, remember? Last time, when Olivia cut Melanie's hair, your cousin Beatrix still wants vengeance for that. We'll make sure she gets it. Cousin Beatrix. Monica repeated the name several times, and her emotions eased somewhat. Mommy, when will it happen? When do you think Beatrix will seek revenge? Rachel pondered for a moment. December 10th is your grandfather's birthday. That could be a good opportunity. And it wouldn't be tied back to us because everyone knows Melanie and Beatrix Cooper have their own issues with Olivia because what Olivia did to their hair. We'll just encourage Beatrix to go a little farther with whatever she has planned. Maybe she can hurt Olivia in a more permanent way. Maim her. Something like that. December 10th. Monica blinked her eyes. That's too far away. She didn't want Olivia to live comfortably for so long. Monica, if you want to take revenge, you must be patient. Rachel patted the back of Monica's hand. Your character is too impulsive and straightforward. That's why you were used and bullied by Olivia, do you understand? Fine, Monica huffed. I'll be patient. Monica grinned, excited for what was to come. Rachel stayed with Monica until she fell asleep. She knew her daughter had to be coached into calming down and letting her anger for Olivia go. The mother and daughter duo had nearly been exiled from the house, and Rachel knew she was lucky to still be here. Her schemes could have ruined everything not only for herself, but for Monica as well. I need to be more careful going forward, she thought. I can't risk exposure, and I can't let Michael's father Jack become suspicious of me again. That was the only time I'll ever be allowed to make that mistake. Still, she was grateful that Jack had not told Michael. She knew Jack was sparing his son because it would be too much to take, knowing that his wife and mother of his daughter had done this to his other daughter. He wouldn't be able to handle it, so she knew Jack would never tell him, and she wouldn't either. She would simply pretend it was a one-time mistake. By the time Rachel finally left Monica's room, the first light of dawn was already beginning to break. Leaning warily against the corridor wall, Rachel took a deep breath, followed by a long sigh filled with weariness. Exhaustion had settled upon her like a heavy burden, leaving her completely drained. Rachel squatted down as if unable to go on, and let her head rest upon her knees. She felt the weight of the past few arduous days that seemed to have no end. She couldn't help but wonder when her struggles would cease, and why fate seemed determined to deny both her and Rachel a peaceful existence. What obstacles still stood in our path, obstructing our journey? she wondered. What do I have to do to succeed in this world and assure my daughter succeeds as well? Gradually, Rachel's mind cleared and she stood up, pushing aside her weariness. Monica was still young, and Rachel had to persevere for her sake, removing any obstructions that threatened her well-being. With a resolute gaze, determination glimmered in Rachel's eyes. She would not allow Olivia to escape unpunished for all the misfortune she had brought upon Rachel and Monica. The humiliation that Rachel and her daughter endured today at the hands of Jack would be repaid to Olivia twofold in the future. A passing maid noticed Rachel in the corridor and stopped, her brow furrowed as she said with concern, "Madam, have you not rested yet?" "Oh, no, I was just checking on my sweet Monica," Rachel replied, her steps momentarily pausing. "I must rest now. Tomorrow morning, inform my butler, Richard Cost, to prepare some gifts for my older sister's family, and invite my niece, Miss Beatrix Cooper, to visit as well. Tell her that her aunt longs to see her." "Very well, madam," the maid responded. She bowed low before Rachel before promptly turning and departing. Rachel's eyes darkened. Even if she couldn't personally eliminate Olivia, she would ensure that Olivia's life was far from blissful. Since that old fool Jack forbade her from taking action, she would find someone else to do her bidding. Olivia mustn't be allowed to live, Rachel thought. Not while she is still one of Monica's greatest obstacles. As long as Olivia remains alive and Michael considers her a fitting heiress to his family fortune, my daughter will be forced to stay in the shadows, relegated to a secondary role. This is completely unacceptable and unforgivable. Rachel was so angry, she had to fight the urge to punch the wall as she tiptoed down the hallway. Passing a window in the corridor, Rachel paused and observed a pot of flourishing flowers adorning the windowsill. The vibrant green leaves supported 2 red blossoms. The delicate, exquisite flowers shimmered among the moonlight, emitting a unique allure. One blossom towered over the other, both thriving and reaching towards the left. Rachel, transfixed, quickly opened the window, then extended her hand, plucking the taller flower from its stem. The 2 flowers were like Olivia and Monica, both growing up quickly, draped in elegant colors and thriving. I can't have that, Rachel thought. She grimaced as she firmly grasped the taller flower, then ground it up in her hands and tossed it to the ground, before striding away with determined steps. In the Johnson family mansion, 2 young ladies had never coexisted in the past, and they would never do so in the future. As Rachel marched through the large, echoing halls, rain began to pour outside. Thunder signaled the approach of a storm, which persisted throughout the night. Good, Rachel mused. Even the heavens agree today was terrible, and they're letting me know. Tomorrow I'll focus on my new plan, though, and things will feel better. The following morning, the storm clouds that hovered over New York all evening finally began to retreat, and at the Cooper family's mansion, the upstairs atrium was bathed in a gentle sunlight as the sun broke through the clouds. Inside, young Beatrix Cooper sat on a luxurious plush pastel pink velvet couch. Seated before a round table, she sipped black tea while engrossed in a book. The table displayed an exquisite tea set, along with the carefully arranged flowers in an elegant European blown glass vase from the island of Santorini. Delicate finger sandwiches and a plate of fruit completed the refined ambiance. "Excuse me, Miss Beatrix," a shy maid said hesitantly. The maid knew Beatrix's reputation with servants. She was known to have a temper and little patience. She'd even throw books or cell phones at them when interrupted if she was in the wrong mood. Beatrix rolled her eyes. "Yes?" "I'm sorry, we have, What is it?" Beatrix bellowed. "Spit it out!" "There is the main butler from the Johnson family mansion here to see you. He said he is the head of staff there. His name is, Richard. He said he would like to speak to you." The maid averted her eyes and looked down deferentially. "Oh?" Beatrix perked up upon hearing the maid's words, raising an eyebrow and diverting her attention from the book. If Rachel sent the head of staff here, it had to be important, she thought. And she sent him for me? Beatrix smiled slightly. Is the butler still waiting in the main hall? Yes, the maid nervously replied, still avoiding eye contact with Beatrix for fear of inspiring her ire. I see, Beatrix responded, rising from her seat. Tell him I have just awakened and that I'll have to continue to wait for a bit. Beatrix liked playing power games with people to see how long she could get them to do things like wait on her. It was a way of establishing dominance over others. Understood, miss. The maid hastily departed, as though granted a reprieve. Beatrix cast a disdainful glance at the departing maid, curling her lip in contempt. Returning to her book, she slowly read another chapter. If it's important, Richard can wait for me to finish my activities. She smiled to herself before tidying her hair and finally leaving the room. As she entered the first-floor living room, the voice of Richard, who had been waiting for quite some time now, reached her ears. Miss Beatrix. Richard Caw stood up from the leather sofa upon seeing her. Yes, Beatrix replied, leisurely sitting down on the leather armchair opposite him. Did my Aunt Rachel send you, Richard? Indeed. Richard nodded with a smile. Madam expressed her longing for Miss Beatrix's presence and requested that I escort you back to the Johnson family residence for a few days. She would love to host you and catch up. What are your thoughts? What a coincidence, Beatrix interrupted, before snapping her fingers. Immediately, a different maid appeared and presented Beatrix with her favorite flower tea. Pouring herself a cup, Beatrix remarked, I was thinking of my aunt recently. Richard seemed elated and looked as though he was ready to shuffle Beatrix out the door, but she shot him a frown. Unfortunately, I've been feeling unwell lately and prefer not to leave the house. Richard Caw's expression changed, caught off guard by Beatrix's refusal. After a brief hesitation, he said cautiously, Miss Beatrix, please don't make it difficult for me. Beatrix, holding her teacup, suddenly turned gloomy. Why do you think you are to accuse me of making things difficult? Richard's expression shifted again as he forcefully suppressed his anger. He knew his place in the hierarchy of people in this world, but Richard couldn't help but let his ego get the best of him sometimes. This girl was wealthy, sure, but she was still just a little teenage girl. It made him seethe to have to bow down to someone so petulant and moody. He thought he could reason with someone like her, and remind her that he was still a man twice her size and twice her age, and if she didn't have so much money, she would be the one doing as he said. But alas, this wasn't the way upper-class society worked, and Richard knew it. He attempted to speak but hesitated, fully aware that Michael had fired his predecessor, Hector Pugh, for insubordination, and had effectively ended Hector's career, since nobody had heard from Hector since. Richard knew that provoking Beatrix today would only result in another unjust firing. It wasn't worth it. Just relay my exact words to my aunt, Beatrix instructed, looking up. I am unwell, and will visit her when I've recovered. Understood, Richard Caw reluctantly agreed. Miss Beatrix, please rest well. I shall take my leave. With those words, he strode out of the Cooper residence. I won't see you off, I hope you understand, as I'm too comfortable where I'm currently seated, Beatrix murmured, sitting on the sofa and quietly savoring her flower tea. A faint bitterness lingered on her lips, but the tea's fragrance permeated her breath. Setting the empty cup on the coffee table, Beatrix's lips curled upward slightly. So, little Olivia, it turns out you don't disappoint, do you? Beatrix thought. You've proven a worthy adversary not only for my sister Melanie, but for my Aunt Rachel and cousin Monica. Otherwise, Rachel wouldn't have sent the head of her entire staff all the way here in person to try to persuade me to come take care of you. It's like they've called in pest control, Beatrix laughed to herself. And I'm the only one who can get rid of you. Pouring herself another cup of flower tea, Beatrix observed the drifting petals on its surface, lightly tapping the table with her finger. This time, she decided she would personally target Olivia. I'll go to Rachel when I feel like it, and I'll tell her I'm willing to help her. She knows I'm powerful. Beatrix smiled. She eagerly anticipated all the ways in which she would wield that power. I'm going to come up with a punishment for what you did to my sister. and for whatever you've done to my aunt and cousin," Beatrix thought, thinking of Olivia. "And it's going to be a punishment specially made for you." As she contemplated this, excitement illuminated Beatrix's eyes. She moistened her lower lip with her tongue, reveling in the joy that eluded her for far too long. With a resounding crash, Rachel's cup of coffee shattered upon impact with the ground. She threw it down as she suddenly rose from her seat and asked sharply, "What did you just say?" "Madam, I assure you I tried to convince her otherwise, but I was unable to get Miss Beatrix to come with me." Richard Coss sighed. "She did not accept my invitation. She said she would come at a later date, though." "Imbecile!" Rachel berated Richard, her fists clenched tightly. She took a few deep breaths to compose herself. "Leave at once." "Yes, madam." Richard Coss nodded, retreating in embarrassment. Rachel's eyes narrowed, her fists still tightly clenched. "Beatrix, your audacity knows no bounds," Rachel thought. "You dare to play games with your own aunt, using some feigned illness as an excuse, so that you can do a little power play and force me to come to you and personally beg for your help." Gritting her teeth, Rachel reminded herself that she must set aside her anger with her niece, swallow her pride, and think of the bigger picture. If Beatrix wanted Rachel to come kiss the ring, so to speak, and stroke her ego for a moment to show how much she needed Beatrix, then Rachel would do so, but only because Rachel needed to get rid of Olivia. Afterwards, Rachel would deal with Beatrix and make sure she put her niece in her place again. As her aunt, she still held some sway over Beatrix's future marriage, so when the time came, she would pay her back. She would make Beatrix come and beg her to pick the right suitor then. With this in mind, Rachel's expression softened slightly. "Summon the car," she commanded her maids. "I need to be taken to the Cooper residence." After gathering a few natural remedies, Rachel personally visited the Cooper mansion to deliver them and offer words of consolation. "You poor thing," Rachel told Beatrix through a fake smile upon arrival. "My butler told me you were sick, so I brought you a few remedies for stomach bugs and colds. You didn't mention which you had, so I figured, why not bring them all?" Beatrix smiled in return. "Thank you so much, Auntie. You really didn't need to do this." "Oh, I insist," Rachel said. "In fact, why don't you take one of these remedies in front of me, so I can make sure you've taken it correctly, according to the directions." She watched her niece, calling her bluff as she goaded her on to take the medications they both clearly knew Beatrix didn't actually need. Beatrix inhaled deeply, trying not to let her confidence falter during this stalemate. She didn't like being questioned, though she knew it was her fault for lying to her aunt in the first place. She forgot how similar she and her Aunt Rachel were. Neither of them liked to back down. "I would, but I just took a Tylenol, and I don't want to hurt myself by mixing medications." Rachel nodded suspiciously. "I see. Well, I just wanted to make sure you were okay, and to say, once you are better, we would love to see you at our house. It has been a while since we caught up, and I'd love to host you for a few days. Maybe we can have a little ladies' spa day or something. Actually, Auntie, I do feel like maybe I'm on the mend, and seeing you come all the way here to make sure I'm feeling okay is so sweet. I'm sure I could summon the strength to take you up on your invite now if you wanted." Beatrix smiled slightly. In her heart, Rachel scolded Beatrix for making her come all the way here to personally invite her over. But outwardly, she maintained the facade of a caring aunt. After ensuring Beatrix had ample rest, Rachel left the Cooper residence, her heart filled with simmering anger. "I have numerous methods to punish you for your insolence, Beatrix," Rachel thought. "But first, I must deal with Olivia." Rain fell in the early morning, casting a damp and uncomfortable atmosphere in Olivia's already dark and gloomy room. Olivia already missed being at her mother's new place with Victoria, but she knew she had a mission here at her father's mansion, and she had to stay until she had completed it. Still, it was difficult not to feel dreary in her dimly lit bedroom. "Polly, you want to go play in the living room for a while?" Olivia asked before placing her laptop on the table. She reached out and gently patted Polly's head. "Woof!" Polly eagerly stood up, her expression filled with delight. Even Polly seemed to dislike the dampness in the room. Supporting herself against the wall, Olivia carefully descended the stairs. She felt much better than before. Her ankle was less swollen, and she could finally begin moving her shoulder more than before, although she had to make slow, gentle movements. "I'll probably miss out on the rest of the track meets this year," Liv thought, "but at least I'll be able to be on the team still for college applications." Polly closely followed Olivia like a loyal guardian. Anytime Olivia showed the slightest sign of caution while walking down the stairs, or even looked like she might stumble, Polly would immediately position herself beneath her, acting as a cushion. Even while descending the stairs, Polly turned to watch Olivia on each step, displaying utmost care. "Don't worry, Polly, I'm fine," Olivia reassured her, gripping the handrail and descending the stairs slowly. "Woo!" Polly whined affectionately. Reaching the first floor, Olivia settled on the sofa. The soft leather provided much more comfort than her room, and the living room was well ventilated and filled with natural light, alleviating the sense of dampness. Seated on the sofa beside Liv, Polly playfully tossed a tennis ball she had brought from the room. Then she eagerly retrieved the ball and handed it to Olivia. Olivia alternated between her left and right hands, exerting different levels of force. Her left hand carried more weight, while her right hand engaged in lighter exercises, aiding her shoulder recovery. Olivia found solace in Polly's presence during these simple rehabilitation sessions, but after a while, fatigue settled in, so Olivia reclined on the couch. Polly didn't protest and simply lay down beside Olivia's feet. Olivia rested her right foot on Polly's body, finding comfort in the gesture. A sudden epiphany flashed in Olivia's mind, and she sat up. "Polly, fetch my book. You know, the one I was just reading." Polly tilted her head, a look of confusion fixed on her face. Olivia extended her hands in front of her, mimicking the act of flipping through pages. "A book, the one I just read." Observing Polly's adorable yet puzzled expression, Olivia gave up and laughed. It seemed that the task was beyond the dog's comprehension. "Forget it," Olivia sighed, absent-mindedly tapping the table with her left hand. "Oh, do you want a treat?" Polly suddenly barked, as if to indicate its understanding, before scurrying into the kitchen. Olivia had taught Polly to run into the kitchen whenever she said treat, and to put her paw on her bowl, so that the maids in there would know to give Polly a single treat. The maids thought it was such a cute gesture that they all played along and encouraged the cute behavior. Meanwhile, Monica descended the stairs with her toy Maltese, Candy, by her side. She spotted Olivia sitting on the sofa, a flash of hatred flickering in her eyes. She remembered the incident between Candy and Polly the other day at the dining room table, but she refused to back down in her own house or go elsewhere merely because Olivia was already in the room she'd intended on hanging out in. Without uttering a word, Monica entered the living room and settled on the opposite sofa, indulging in a granola bar. The Maltese obediently stood near Monica's feet, following her commands. It would occasionally perform tricks, standing on its hind legs or lying down, sometimes even rolling over with an ingratiating expression. Proud of her intelligent pet, Monica glanced at Olivia. In every aspect, she believed herself superior to Olivia. Olivia found Monica's attempts at provocation laughable. Did Monica not realize that her swollen, pig-like face only served to amplify the comedic effect of her expressions? At that moment, Polly returned from the kitchen, its mouth gripping the little bone she'd gotten from the maids. Eagerly approaching Olivia, it hopped up next to her and ate its treat. "Good job, truly excellent," Olivia praised, reaching out to rub Polly's head. Polly, elated by the praise, tilted its head and wagged its tail cutely. Then it settled near her right leg, providing support and ensuring her comfort. Olivia marveled at Polly's intelligence, smiling. Monica glared at Polly, rising abruptly in a fit of anger. Damn Olivia. Damn stupid dog. Olivia read Monica's mind as her half-sister stormed out of the living room. Only then did she realize that Polly had defended Michael against Candy the other morning. Olivia smiled. Good job, Polly, she smiled. Even you know how to make Rachel and Monica and their silly little nipping dog look bad. Not that it's too hard. I suppose they do a good enough job at that themselves as well. Olivia laughed, thinking of Monica huffing and puffing in her room over the dogs. Let her wear herself out over trivial things, Olivia told herself. She'll be much easier to take down that way. Returning to her room, Monica sat on the edge of her bed, trembling with anger. Was Olivia trying to show off her dog's training or something? Does she think that idiot husky has anything on my well-trained champion dog? Monica scoffed. I'll train mine even better then. Such thoughts ignited Monica's impatience. She turned to her Maltese poodle beside her feet and exclaimed, Candy, go get that book on my desk. The Maltese wore a perplexed expression, failing to comprehend Monica's intention. Go get that book. Monica pointed at her desk. She was going to teach Candy something Polly could never do, and Olivia would feel stupid. The one on top, bring it here. The Maltese remained clueless, performing tricks and rolling around. Who asked you to roll? I want the books! Monica's patience wore thin. Candy, clearly unable to comprehend Monica's words, barked anxiously, hoping for her owner to stop scowling. Book! I want you to fetch the book for me! Monica, unable to contain her frustration, continued to fail to communicate her desire effectively. My dog is a champion, surely superior to Olivia's husky, she seethed. In her anger, Monica forcefully kicked Candy away, exclaiming, Trash, as Candy whimpered and scurried to hide in the corner. After being kicked away and scurrying to the corner, Monica's dog Candy struggled momentarily on the ground before rising to its feet again. It cast a pleading, fearful gaze at Monica, seeking her mercy. Monica responded by snatching a pillow from the bed and hurling it at Candy. The impact, though not severe, caused the poor little Maltese to tumble on the ground. Undeterred, it stood up and gazed at Monica once more, emitting a pleading sound. Monica cursed at Candy and opened her bedroom door before commanding the dog to leave. Finally comprehending Monica's hostility, the Maltese hung its head low, took a few steps back, and retreated from Monica's room. It returned to its dog bed defeated, unable to comprehend the sudden anger of its once kind-hearted young owner. Meanwhile, downstairs, Olivia was engrossed in playing with her own dog Polly until her phone began to ring. She fished her phone from her giant pocket. Seeing the name on the screen, Olivia's expression dimmed slightly. She answered the call, and a faint smile appeared on her face as she greeted, Hello? Olivia, hi, cooed the gentle voice of Ashley Jones from the other end of the line. Hello, Ashley, Olivia replied, her curiosity piqued as to why Ashley Jones had called. I hope I'm not interrupting, Ashley Jones inquired. Did you have a moment to talk? I'm just playing with my dog, Olivia replied with a polite smile, as if Ashley could hear it through the phone. Is there something wrong, Ashley? Oh, no. Well, Bradley and I will be returning to London tomorrow for a bit, so I was thinking I wanted to invite you for a meal tonight, Ashley explained. Olivia was about to decline when a thought crossed her mind. Her beautiful eyes sparkled as she said, Actually, that sounds wonderful. What time should I come? After writing down the time and address Ashley gave her, Olivia smiled and asked, And should I extend the invite to my father as well? That's not necessary. We just want to treat you to a meal alone, Ashley Jones assured her. Okay, wonderful. I'll see you there then, Olivia agreed before bidding her goodbye and ending the call. After pondering for a moment, Olivia dialed Michael's number.
Hello?
Michael answered. Dad, are you busy?
No.
Michael replied, flipping through a contract before asking,
What is it?
Well, Ashley Jones just called and mentioned that she and Bradley will be leaving New York tomorrow for London. She wants to spend some more time alone tonight and invited me for dinner. Olivia informed him. It was always good to remind her father just how essential she was in his life. This engagement was important to the Johnson family. Dad, what should I do to prepare? Michael paused for a moment, then responded,
Be mindful of your attire and avoid being impolite. And don't forget to wear that bracelet Ashley bought you.
Suddenly he remembered something and asked,
By the way, how was your foot?
My foot has improved significantly. Olivia replied cheerfully, Thank you for asking.
I have Morris driving me tonight, so I'll ask Ansel to take you and pick you up.
Michael assured her.
Just let him know the time and place so he can make arrangements.
Should I bring any gifts? Olivia inquired. For Ashley and Bradley?
I'll have Ansel prepare the gifts. You just need to take care when you go out.
Michael instructed. He was silent for a moment.
I want you to be safe, sweetie.
Olivia imagined her father was reliving the other night when he found out she'd been attacked by someone specifically targeting her. I promise I will be, Dad, Olivia responded, grateful for her father's concern. After exchanging I love yous and bidding farewell and then ending the call, Olivia dialed another number. It rang a few times. Finally, a low, gruff male voice on the other end said,
Hello?
It sounded like maybe had just woken up, despite it being quite late in the day already. Olivia felt her heart flutter slightly at the sound of his voice. Hey, Chris, it's Olivia. Do you have a moment?
What is it? Do you want me to be your knight in shining armor again?
Chris's voice sounded more hoarse than usual. What happened to your voice? Olivia asked, brows furrowing.
It's nothing.
Chris deflected the question and asked,
What do you need?
Do you remember the 2 steps you must take as part of our deal? Olivia inquired. I mentioned them when we spoke before.
How could I forget?
Chris confirmed.
Of course I remember. You want me to tell my father and stepmom that I'm never going back to London, that I plan on staying here.
Yes, and I told you I would let you know when I'd found the perfect time for you to do that. Well, I think I found an opportunity for you to say it where it may feel natural. Your father has invited me to dine with him. So if you have time later, I think we should proceed with telling them you plan on staying in Manhattan tonight, Olivia said with a smile. The time has come. Chris hesitated, an immediate refusal on the tip of his tongue. However, he seemed to think twice before he paused.
Okay,
he finally agreed. Olivia smiled to herself. It's all coming together, she thought, nodding. And then afterwards, she said excitedly, for step 2.
The first step is one thing,
Chris interrupted her.
And I'm going through with it, but step 2 is a lot.
Chris cautioned hesitantly. She could hear him sigh.
Are we sure we still need me to enroll in a regular high school?
He sounded dubious. For a second, Olivia worried he might go back on the plan entirely. At least file the paperwork to enroll, she told him, as a sign of good faith. Because I want to be able to at least mention to Ashley that you've told me you're interested in going to school here, should the opportunity arise, Olivia explained. You want your stepmother to think you're putting down roots here so that she'll leave you alone, don't you? Isn't that what we discussed? Olivia hoped she was being persuasive enough. Chris sighed.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Good, she thought, exhaling. Now hopefully he'll stick to the plan. Soon, Olivia was stepping into the shower and then blow-drying her hair and picking out an appropriate outfit for her dinner with Ashley and Bradley Jones. Olivia left her house, got into Ansel's car, and within an hour, she was arriving at a members-only restaurant in Midtown Manhattan. She wore a white coat specifically to highlight the bracelet Ashley had given her. Upon arrival, she exchanged pleasantries with Bradley Jones and presented him with a gift. Olivia, you're too polite, Bradley smiled, thoroughly satisfied with his potential future daughter-in-law. She possessed both beauty and grace, exuding the aura of a capable and dignified woman. Yes, you're far too kind, Ashley Jones chimed in, her smile gentle, before suddenly frowning as she looked down. Oh, no, Olivia, what happened to your leg? When you came in, you seemed a little... are you walking all right? Oh, Olivia sighed, responding, It's my own fault. I was reading a book and absent-mindedly went down the stairs. I missed a step and tumbled down. She knew that Chris hadn't told his family about what happened, and knew that her father had been too busy to follow up with Bradley on the subject, since Bradley had been traveling for work. And Lord knows Rachel didn't bring it up to Ashley, Olivia thought, since Rachel knows what really happened and would go her whole life not mentioning her failed assassination attempt on my life if it were up to her. Oh, dear. Bradley Jones and Ashley Jones' expressions froze momentarily. Well, I hope you are okay. I will be. The upcoming midterms made me a bit anxious, Olivia replied shyly, her smile tinged with embarrassment. I've learned my lesson this time. I won't read while going up and down the stairs in the future. Learning is important, but your safety mustn't be neglected, Ashley Jones said with concern. Did you visit the hospital? What did the doctor say? The doctor said it was a sprained ankle, Olivia replied, smiling, so nothing life-threatening. I'm feeling much better today. An injury can have long-lasting consequences if not properly attended to. Take ample rest and ensure a complete recovery, Bradley Jones advised. When we were young, Ashley had a similar incident and her ankle still troubles her to this day. As Bradley Jones mentioned the past, Ashley Jones blushed like a young girl, playfully complaining. You always bring up embarrassing memories, she teasingly swatted at him. Not at all, Bradley Jones laughed. He couldn't help but appreciate his wife's youthful spirit. She was not only his partner in business, but also brought a touch of innocence to their daily lives. How could he not adore her? Olivia observed the affectionate exchange between Bradley Jones and Ashley Jones, a smile gracing her lips, as she listened in on Bradley's thoughts. So, Olivia thought, Ashley seduced you as the younger, playful girl next door and you fell for her? After your wife died, that's how Ashley got you? It was starting to make sense. Oh, by the way, Bradley Jones furrowed his brows as if recalling something and asked, Where's Chris? Have you talked to him recently? It seemed Bradley rarely had a handle on where his son was. Not the world's most involved hands-on father, Olivia mused, which explains why Chris is so close to Vera, who actually acts like a parental figure and guardian, and probably explains why Chris is always gallivanting about. It's easy to jet-set around when even your own father is too preoccupied with work and his younger wife to keep a close eye on you. Upon hearing Bradley mention Chris, a hint of displeasure flashed across Ashley Jones' face, quickly masked by concern. Yes, he always wants to run away from home. He's so stubborn. Hey, Bradley Jones' expression grew stern. Why don't we come up with a plan to trick him into going to the airport tomorrow? And then I'll arrange for someone to pretend to kidnap him so he can come with us to London. Bradley was clearly joking when he said the word kidnap, but Olivia felt slightly uncomfortable at the mere suggestion. She hesitated, muttering under her breath. I don't know if that's a good idea. I think it's a hilarious and fun idea, Ashley said, agreeing with her husband, although her eyes moved slightly. Olivia caught this and watched Ashley carefully. She knew Ashley would actually never let Chris return to London again if it were up to her, and she feared what Ashley might do to prevent him from going. Ashley Jones' mind raced. She knew she hadn't yet been successful in thwarting Chris's ability to take over his family business. Every time she sent her associates to hurt or kill Chris, they failed. It was only a matter of time before the Jones family back in London started to sense that maybe Chris was getting into trouble in New York and called him home. And if she wasn't cautious, Ashley could risk exposing her ulterior motives. Maybe I should lay low and not go after Chris for a while, to lull the Jones family into a false sense of security, and then strike when it is least expected, she thought. Yes, that's what I have to do. Olivia watched her scheme, eyes narrowing. But, in all actuality, we can't force him to go to London if he doesn't want to. Bradley sighed, acknowledging reality. So I suppose my hands are tied. Among the children of the Jones family, Bradley and even his own father, the patriarch of the family, held a particular fondness for Chris above all the others. Bradley harbored intentions of appointing Chris as the future successor of the family business. As a father, it was only natural for Bradley to desire a prosperous future for his son. However, Chris had been rebellious from a young age, often running away from home for months on end. Bradley couldn't help but feel anxious when such things happened. People always find a way if you want him to come, Ashley reassured her husband, placing her slender hand upon Bradley's clenched fist, which was wrought with anger. She always appeased her husband and played the part of doting, obedient wife, even when it contradicted her own private desires. She knew it was always most important to display unwavering support for Bradley. She could accomplish all of her own personal goals afterwards, only once Bradley continued to see Ashley as an indispensable part of his life. All her aspirations were useless if she didn't have that. I will stand by your side and help you think of a solution, she softly whispered to her husband. I am determined to find a way. Bradley observed Ashley's words and felt his anger dissipate instantly. He reached out and took hold of Ashley's hand, intertwining their fingers. The harmonious atmosphere that enveloped them made Olivia uneasy, though, because she could see Ashley's inner thoughts. It's so obvious how Ashley manipulates you, Olivia thought, watching Bradley. Olivia discreetly cleared her throat and coughed lightly, prompting them to release each other's hands. A blush adorned Ashley's face. Even that was an act. Bradley chuckled awkwardly and spoke. Olivia, I bet you didn't know this, but tomorrow marks the anniversary of our marriage. We have a big evening planned tomorrow when we arrive in London. We're going to our favorite spot, where our first date was. Wow, Olivia exclaimed, her expression filled with surprise. Is that so? Happy anniversary to you both. I can tell from here that you're just as much in love today as you must have been when you first married. I can only hope for a union like yours. Ashley laughed, flattered. Oh, that is so sweet of you, Olivia. Thank you. Although this topic eased the tension in the air, the underlying problem remained unresolved. They skirted around the issue of Bradley's son accompanying them to London and changed the subject. But after some discussion of school and the weather, and after careful consideration, Bradley brought up the topic of Chris again. He decided it would indeed be best to distract Chris and then trick him into going to the airport later. Once there, they could arrange for someone to forcibly board one of their private jets. Olivia was taken aback by this seemingly simplistic and rough plan. What could she say? Could she possibly argue against her own future father-in-law? Well, not forcibly, Bradley said, but persuasively. We'll just tell him his grandpa wants to see him or something, so he's less reticent. Suddenly, the restaurant door swung open with a resounding bang, and Chris appeared before them, his eyes brimming with anger. Do you dare to sink any lower in your shamelessness? The atmosphere turned immediately awkward. Ashley was the first to react, rising from her seat abruptly. Christopher, how dare you speak to your father like that? And how should I speak to him? Chris sneered. How should I? I don't want to harm you at all. I'm doing this for your own good. Bradley interjected. I am your father. That is undoubtedly the most selfish excuse in the world, Chris retorted coldly. Is this really for my good or for your own? Because you always claim to know best, don't you? One of the drivers told me about your little plan to get me to go to London. You really think people are just going to suck up to you, old man? At least they respect me enough to tell me things. Watch how you speak to me. Bradley slammed the table, rising to his feet. You are truly ungrateful, you defiant little brat. Ever since my mother's death, I have been defiant. Chris smirked disdainfully. Did you only just realize it today? You. Bradley's expression grew solemn, the anger in his eyes dissipating instantly. The death of his wife had always been a lingering wound in his heart. For 10 years! 10 whole years! Chris coldly snorted. Your response is remarkably delayed if you've just noticed how I behave. 'Cause God knows you haven't paid enough attention before. Tell me, can't you recall what day it is tomorrow? Your wedding anniversary? Can you remember? Can you even remember the significance of tomorrow? Bradley choked, unable to utter a single word in response. Tomorrow is the anniversary of my mother's death. Have you offered a single prayer for her at all? Chris glared coldly at Bradley. Did you visit her grave recently? Before Bradley could answer, Chris provided his own response. No. How could you possibly spare a thought for a deceased person when you were so blissfully happy? You were too preoccupied to visit the mother of your son, the woman you once loved, who has been dead for 10 years. Bradley attempted to explain, but was abruptly interrupted by Chris. I didn't visit her either, Chris said coldly. I made a vow before my mother's grave that I would not visit her until I avenged her. Chris! Olivia called out to Chris immediately. She understood the bitterness in his heart, but she hoped he wouldn't lose sight of his purpose for visiting today. Chris, I'm so sorry to hear about all this. She looked from him to Bradley and Ashley. I can see why emotions would be so high and people might say things they don't mean, but please, maybe we can all let cooler heads prevail. She shot Chris a look that said, What are you doing? Behave or I'll let Ashley win. Upon hearing Olivia's voice, Chris forced his overwhelming emotions down. He glanced at Ashley, whose eyes were filled with gloom, and said nothing. Then he turned to Bradley, whose face was marked with remorse, and enunciated each word deliberately. I shall never return to London for as long as I live. Even in death, I shall not forgive you. Stop dreaming. What? Bradley exclaimed, shocked by Chris's proclamation. No! Ashley's eyes gleamed with delight. After her failed attempts, she couldn't risk making another move against Chris right now. If he refused to return to London, which meant refusing to take over the family's empire that was based there, it would resolve her issue without her even having to do anything further. As long as he stayed away, she wouldn't mind granting him a few more years of life. Olivia smiled. She knew this is exactly what Ashley wanted. Good job, she thought, watching Chris. He was doing exactly as she'd instructed. It almost makes up for your little, I'm going to avenge my mom outburst a few seconds ago, she thought. But it was working. She could tell from reading Ashley's mind that Ashley was buying it. Chris, how could you? Ashley sneered, pretending to be upset with his declaration that he wouldn't return to London. Ashley then stepped forward, firmly clutching Bradley's arm. It appeared as though she was providing support and consolation, but in reality she subtly held him in place so he couldn't follow his son as Chris turned and marched out of the restaurant. Observing Ashley's actions, Olivia couldn't help but sigh in admiration. Ashley's cunning surpassed that of Rachel by several levels. Impressive, truly impressive. Unable to merely watch the scene unfold, Olivia also attempted to console Bradley. Mr. Jones, please don't be angry. This ungrateful son of mine, Bradley seethed, unable to even look at Chris. His anger caused his entire body to tremble. Bradley, please don't be angry, Ashley implored, worried that Bradley might chase after Chris. She grasped his arm again. Again, Olivia couldn't help but marvel at Ashley's skill. She realized that going toe-to-toe with Ashley directly in the future would be unwise. Ashley's position was not one she could afford to challenge at the moment. Bradley looked around flustered, and then quickly threw down his napkin, which he still angrily clutched from the moment Chris had burst through the door. I'm sorry, Miss Johnson, he said angrily, but we will have to cut this evening short. Honey, Ashley cooed, trying to console her husband. Honey, it's going to be okay. No, Bradley bellowed. Excuse me, he said to the other restaurant patrons before standing up. I will be in the car. Once Bradley stormed out of the restaurant and into his waiting car, Ashley bowed her head at Olivia, a little embarrassed. "They'll resolve this," she assured Olivia. "They always do. It's just a little father-son tiff." She shrugged. "Chris can be a little immature, but don't worry, he will make a lovely husband once he grows up a little." "Or not," Olivia heard Ashley think. "But it won't matter by that point because he'll be stuck here in New York with you, and I'll be in London with Bradley grooming my own children to take over the Jones Empire in Europe. Have fun dealing with Chris, little girl." Ashley smiled. "I will," Olivia thought. "And then once I've helped him, you'll wish you'd taken care of him when you had the chance." Following the abrupt end to her dinner, Olivia decided to take a stroll and enjoy the evening breeze since her driver wasn't due to pick her up for another hour. Her ankle was feeling good enough to walk on, but she shuffled slowly just to be sure. Her stomach grumbled, so Olivia stopped for a bag of chips from a street vendor and then continued on. She knew that Xavier was no longer a threat, and that Rachel was probably too terrified to send anyone else after her right now, so she relished the time alone, feeling safe while out in public again. After walking for another 10 minutes, Olivia began thinking back to what Chris had mentioned in the restaurant just a little bit ago. Tomorrow marked the anniversary of his mother's death. No wonder his voice had sounded somewhat hoarse on the phone earlier. He'd probably been crying, even though he didn't seem like the vulnerable type. Reflecting upon Chris's hesitant tone during their phone conversation, Olivia understood how hard today and tomorrow must be on him. With this in mind, she dialed Chris's number again. After a few rings, he picked up.
"Hello?"
he said, his voice more assured and less shaky than before. "Chris, hey, where are you?" It was silent for a moment. Then Chris said,
"I'm behind you."
Olivia turned suddenly, and her eyes widened when she spotted Chris standing about 10 feet behind her. It appeared that he had been discreetly following her for some time. She hung up her phone upon seeing him and raised an eyebrow. A playful smile escaped Olivia's lips. "Chris Jones, what a surprise. I was wondering where you'd run off to. Do you have a secret hobby of following my every step? I should really be more clear about telling you I'm not interested in having a stalker." Her lips curled up. Instead of offering a verbal reply, Chris closed the distance between them in measured strides until he stood directly before Olivia. His gaze held a hint of intensity until finally he said, "I'm not sure I'd listen, since I'm not really into anyone dictating my movements, you know?" He smirked. "Oh, that's abundantly clear, based on your argument with your dad earlier. But in that case, I guess I'm honored you insist on following me." Olivia chuckled, her voice infused with a touch of amusement. She wanted to stop the banter for a moment and just tell Chris that she was sorry to hear that the anniversary of his mom's death was approaching, but she didn't quite know how to bring it up. Chris obviously liked to keep things light and playful based on the ever-present smirk on his face and constant teasing one-liners. In fact, mentioning his late mother had never been part of their plan. And now Olivia wondered if Chris really was upset with his father, or if that was just an embellishment he used so his dad wouldn't press further and force Chris to return to London. Olivia didn't know how to delve deeper and ask about it, so she simply said, "By the way, you did a great job in the restaurant with the whole 'I'm never going to London' thing. I thought you were very convincing. You knocked step 1 of our plans out of the ballpark." "Thanks. I'm known for my ability to be difficult and unruly, which helped," Chris added, his tone carrying a mix of seriousness and humor. He stopped for a moment and looked around. "Why are you lingering here instead of heading home? Are you looking for trouble again, Miss Johnson?" His eyebrow popped up. "I still have an hour until my driver comes to pick me up, so I decided why not take a leisurely stroll," Olivia replied. She took a deep breath and Chris noticed. "Does your ankle not ache? Your leg can't possibly be fully healed yet," Chris said, his eyes focused on Olivia's delicate ankle. Olivia playfully arched an eyebrow and teased. "Oh, it aches," she winced. "Why do you ask?" Are you suggesting that you're going to grace me with the honor of carrying me and relieving me of my discomfort? The smile curved Chris's lips as he met Olivia's gaze, his eyes filled with the softness that bellied his sharp exterior. Without a word, he turned and gracefully crouched down. Is that what you'd like? All right, hop on and I'll carry you. Seriously? Olivia laughed. She was taken aback, her surprise evident. She had not anticipated Chris's immediate compliance. Are you always this chivalrous? Or are you being chased by men with guns or something today and you're just looking for a human shield? She teased. Funny, he retorted. No, I just figured if you have an hour to kill, I could show you somewhere fun to spend that hour. And I find that your pace is rather slow. His voice was steady and gentle despite the barb. Come on, just let me assist you. Unless you like moving at an elderly snail's pace. Fine, Olivia agreed, a slight smirk on her face as she rolled her eyes. Her ankle did twinge with discomfort, so she saw no reason to refuse his offer. As Chris lifted her effortlessly into his arms and rose to his full height, Olivia placed her arms delicately around his shoulders. Chris carried Olivia with a certain grace as they continued their stroll along the street. She noticed people eyeing them, but she didn't care. It may look silly to watch a teenage boy carry a girl down the street, Olivia thought, but let them stare. If I'm being honest, I kind of like people seeing me and Chris together like this. As they walked, Chris pointed to an arcade as they were approaching, and he directed her attention to a game positioned at the corner, just inside the entrance. It was filled with an array of toys and temporary tattoos and knickknacks, its melodic music and rhythmic, colorful lights providing a captivating spectacle. A silver hook dangled enticingly within over the toys. The front of the game had the words, "Catch one if you can," scrawled across it. Olivia lightly tapped Chris's shoulder and then said, "Put me down. I want to play that game." After hearing him talk about his mother, Olivia figured it would maybe help Chris to get his mind off things for at least a few minutes if they focused on a lighthearted game. He must be going through hell today, she thought. A little levity couldn't hurt. Lowering her gently, Chris released his hold on Olivia. As soon as her feet touched the ground, she retrieved several coins from her wallet, a mischievous glimmer in her eyes. Let's try our luck with the toys. You want me to win you something? Olivia skillfully fed the coins into the machine, attempting multiple times to capture a prize with the silver hook. But she wasn't successful. Even when she managed to position the hook so it secured a toy twice, her efforts were thwarted as she maneuvered it towards the opening. Chris chuckled at her failed attempts. Seems like this isn't your strong suit. Yeah. Olivia felt a twinge of annoyance despite the playful tone in Chris's voice, her breath catching. She couldn't help that she had a competitive streak. You give it a try then. All right, Chris snorted, producing 2 coins from his pocket and depositing them into the machine slot. In a single swift motion, he expertly seized a doll. Olivia's eyes widened as she watched Chris triumphantly extract the doll. She squinted playfully, remarking, "Luck seems to favor you." Catching a toy requires skill, not luck, Chris smirked, extending the beanbag toy prize towards Olivia. Here, it's yours. Accepting the toy, Olivia queried, "Perhaps you could teach me the art of prize catching?" She knew the more she focused on this game, the more of a reprieve Chris would get from his grief. It's admirable that you aspire to acquire the skill, Chris mused, playfully poking Olivia's forehead with his index finger. But unfortunately, some people just aren't born with the athletic prowess and fortitude that I am. Sorry, Liv. You? Olivia swatted away Chris's hand, rolling her eyes in mock exasperation. Why did you poke my head? It must be great being tall. Laughter escaped Chris's lips as he gazed fondly at Olivia's slightly disheveled hair. In that moment, the shadows within him seemed to dissipate. Oh, I almost forgot, Olivia suddenly recalled, her tone brimming with curiosity. How did things go with your enrollment at Marshall High School? Chris rolled his eyes. I begin school next week, he replied, fixing his eyes on Olivia. so you're getting your little part of the deal. This will work out for you too, she insisted. I mean, look at how your plan just now already seems to be working. Your stepmom Ashley isn't going to send her stupid associates after you constantly, after you said you're not going to London. Now you just have to enroll in school, so she really believes you have a reason to stay in New York forever. How do you know she's not going to send her associates after me anymore? He asked, eyes narrowing. How are you so confident that it worked? Olivia blushed. She couldn't tell him she knew how to read minds, so instead she said, well, that's my assumption, and we'll find out if it's true soon, I suppose. But you're right. We should enroll you in school to make it seem even more ironclad. Plus, if you are in school here, your dad won't be mad at you for not coming to London. Nobody can be mad that you're finishing your education. Besides, Olivia thought, it's convenient for our collaboration if we are close in proximity. Chris's smile froze momentarily. It seemed that this girl held no special regard for him. At most, she saw him as a means to an end. Yet, that was to be expected. Their relationship had always been founded on mutual utility. Thinking this through, Chris felt a slight heaviness in his heart. Olivia read his thoughts and wondered if the heaviness Chris was feeling meant that he liked her. Does he want more than just mutual utility? Is he interested in more than just a deal between us? A transactional relationship? She wondered. Does he actually have feelings for me or like me for me? She felt herself suddenly being hopeful, but stopped herself. This was a useful alliance. She needn't complicate things with feelings or questions about affection. Anyways, come on, she declared. Let's play the game one more time. I'm going to win this round. She bounced towards the toy-catching machine. Leaning forward, she pressed her forehead against the glass, her index finger pointing at a large white ball nestled in the corner. I want to catch that one. Will you show me how? Chris observed Olivia's silhouette against the backdrop of their darkening surroundings as the sun set overhead. The vibrant lights adorning the street were cold and impersonal, but the warm, yellow glow emanating from the arcade games offered a stark contrast, casting a gentle illumination upon Olivia's face. Is young Chris Jones lost in thought? Olivia asked when she caught Chris gazing at her. There isn't something on my face, is there? Actually, yes, there is. Chris replied, gently tugging at Olivia's wrist and pulling her into an embrace. Lowering his head, he left a tender kiss upon her forehead. Olivia stood frozen, meeting Chris's gaze as he tried to comprehend the gesture. What had just happened? Did he just kiss her? It all happened so fast she was uncertain about what had truly transpired, and suddenly found herself second-guessing what she had just experienced. Had she just made the whole thing up? What if that was somehow an accident? She wondered. What if he meant to do something else and then his lips touched my forehead and then... No. She stopped herself. How do you accidentally kiss someone? She wondered. She looked down at the ground, too nervous to look up and face Chris's gaze. If she were to ask directly, why did you just kiss me? What would he say? How would she react? Suddenly, she was flustered and didn't know what to do. Should I just brush the incident aside and pretend it didn't happen, and then refocus on the game to avoid any potential awkwardness? Oh God, what do I do? What is he doing? Is he looking at me? After wrestling with her thoughts, Olivia puffed her cheeks in determination, and instead of looking up, she jumped into his mind to read his thoughts.